Welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany Bundles, and today is our Sunday Chit Chat Q&A video. If you are new to this channel, on Sundays I read through questions via text messages, DMs, emails, comments. I choose one topic to go over and elaborate on. So if you are interested, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Please make sure that you are subscribed, and let's get right into the video. So today's video was sent to me via email, was sent from one of my subscribers. So I thank you so much for watching my channel and also for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Now, she has a vendor. The vendor is a raw hair vendor. I do sell virgin hair extensions. I offer drop ship services. So if you are interested in selling hair without purchasing all the inventory up front, I do have options for that. And then if you are interested in purchasing hair with having inventory at home, I offer wholesale as well for virgin hair extensions. However, like I mentioned, she does offer raw virgin hair. So she has a different vendor, which is completely okay. She reached out and she asked the question. The question is, what do I do if customers ask me hair questions that I do not know the answer to? Now, this is a really good question because when you are becoming when you're opening your own business, whether it's online or in a storefront, a lot of times, you may not have a huge team built, even me, I don't have a huge team. So meaning, if I don't know something, I have to take steps to find the answers for my customers. You know what I mean? Now, being an expert in your industry does not mean that you're going to know everything. It doesn't mean that you're going to, be able to accommodate or answer every single customer's question on the spot immediately. It's okay to let your customers know, I don't know, I'll get back to you within 1 to 2 business days, or I don't know, let me look further into it. It's okay to do that. A lot of times when we're working with different companies and, maybe at your job, if you have a question, there's someone that you can go to find the answer out to, or there's like a resource book that you may have. And so we have to implement some of those same steps and some of those same practices into our own businesses as well. Because like I mentioned, you're not going to know everything. I don't care what business it is or who you are. You may, acquire more knowledge, obviously, being in the industry and working with customers and coming across different questions and just seeing different things. And through your experience, having experience and seeing different situations and different outcomes and different things, with the hair, doing different tests and trying out different products, you definitely will gain knowledge. However, like I mentioned, you are not going to know everything all the time. So it's okay to start to build a habit and a guide and a resource a resource like checklist that you can kind of go through to help yourself and also to help people that you decide to bring onto your team. It's very important to think ahead. Your business may just be consisted of you right now, but that doesn't mean that 10 years from now, even 5 years from now, even next year, it doesn't mean that it's just going to be you working with your business. You may need to bring in help. And if you bring in help, you do want to have some things in place that other people that are working for your business can go to say, okay, I don't know the answer to this, but this is what such and such laid out for me to be able to find the answer. So I'm going to go over the first tip that I have. So the first tip that I have, if you don't know anything or if you have a question about something pertaining to the hair that your customers are asking you, reach out to your vendor. That's number one. That's why I always say when you find a vendor to work with, it's not just about finding the cheapest vendor. It's not just about even finding a vendor with quality hair. All of these things are important. Finding a vendor that you can actually, work with, finding a vendor that has quality products. But it's not just about, okay, this vendor is the cheapest, this vendor has the best hair, this vendor has good customer service. It's not just about choosing one specific good highlight, but it's about making sure that the vendor that you decide to go with has a package, an overall presentation or overall, reputation with you that makes you comfortable with working with them. Sometimes you get customers or people that, come to me and they'll be like, hey, I have a vendor. I chose this vendor because they were the cheapest, but I can't get an answer from them. They won't respond back. They said they're sending out the hair and I haven't received any tracking information. It's been weeks. And it's like, okay, did you communicate with this vendor? Yeah, I did for a couple of days and they were great. Now they're not, Some things you're not going to be able to tell. Sometimes you may think your vendor has the best communication skills and, the best communicative relationship with you until something happens. And you're like, whoa, this vendor did a 360 on me. So you're not going to be able to know everything, but you do want to have some conversations with your vendor ahead of time. You do want to do a little research on your vendor as far as how their communication is, how the product is. If they have samples, I definitely recommend you investing in samples, but you want to get an overall feel for how your vendor is going to work with you. So you should be able to reach out to your vendor and ask some questions, and you should have a relationship with your vendor where you can anticipate how long the response typically is. If you know that typically your vendor responds to you at the end of the night, okay, so then I will let my customer know within 1 to 2 business days, just to kind of give you some time, I will have this answer for you. Or if you know your vendor responds back within 2 hours, okay, by tomorrow I'll have this answer for you. So you can kind of estimate how long it's going to take you to get the answer back from your vendor. Now, sometimes you may reach out to your vendor and your vendor may honestly not know. Sometimes customers will reach out to you and ask you, hey, have you tried this product on this hair? And if you haven't, or, if you contact your vendor and say, hey, has anyone tried this product on the hair? Or have you tried this product? And your vendor is still like, no, I really don't know how this product is going to work on this hair. Then you also may want to take some of the samples that you purchased or take the hair that you have and maybe try out the product. So that's why I say in a lot of videos, it is a good idea to purchase samples. It is also a good idea to have some hair on hand for advertising purposes as well as testing, so that if your customers ask you questions, they'll feel comfortable with your response, and you'll feel confident with the response that you give them because you've also tested out the hair. There are going to be some questions that you get that maybe you know your vendor know. And so you may have to actually do some research, which brings me to my next tip. Do research. You never know what your customers are going to ask you, but it's also a good idea, always a good idea, in my opinion, to do research, to educate yourself in the industry that you're in. So whether that be you're testing out the hair, you're testing out different products, whether that be you're actually wearing the hair to see how the hair acts, you're researching, you're watching different videos, you're just finding out as much as you can about the hair that you are going to be selling is definitely beneficial in my opinion. Now, everyone's going to have a different experience. Not everyone is going to have the same exact experience with the hair that you test out. So say you're wearing hair and you're like, I love this hair. This hair didn't give me any problems. It didn't give me any shedding. It didn't give me anything. But then a customer comes back to you and a customer's like, hey, I received shedding. You may have to ask some questions, but you want to make sure that you're educating yourself on the right questions to ask. Hey, did you cut your wefts? Did you split the wefts? Are you combing the curly hair with a fine tooth comb? Some customers do that. They'll comb it out and you're like, I wouldn't recommend using a fine tooth comb on kinky curly hair extensions. I don't care what company you get them from. So it's our job as the owner of whatever company you're running to make sure that you can give good information and good advice and answer questions based on what you know. Now, like I said, if you don't know the answer, it's definitely okay to say, I don't know, I'm going to look into some other areas. And these are the tips, like I said, that I'm going over. So definitely reach out to your vendor. You do want to have some hair on hand for yourself, just so you can get familiar with the hair, and then also do your research. Now, the third tip that I have, I kind of went over that too. Test out the hair. What products are going to work best on this hair? How do you sleep with the hair at night? Do you find it best to braid the hair up at night? Or do you find it best to do the pineapple method where you're wearing the hair into a high, loose ponytail or bun on the top of your hair, and then you let it down the next day and just wet it? Do you find it best to use this conditioner over this conditioner? Recommend. A lot of times I'll get questions from customers and they'll say, what do you recommend I use on this hair? I want to make sure that I get the most out of my investment. So I'm coming to you because I want to know what you recommend. And so at that point, you don't necessarily have to reach out to your vendor, especially if you have hair on hand. What have you used? What products do you recommend? And so that's why it's very important, like I've been mentioning, to make sure that you are wearing the product that you are selling. If you're selling waist trainers, you want to make sure that you know how the waist trainer feels on you so that you can give a, kind of like a review to your customers. You can give an experienced opinion or a statement. It's not like you're just reading something and saying, okay, well, this is what I read about this waist trainer that I'm trying to sell you. But you can actually say, this is what I do. This is how the waist trainer feels on me. This is how it's helped me. So a lot of times we find that when you are really using the product that you're selling, when you do have confidence in the product that you're selling, it really helps to secure more sales, because people can pick up on whether you just are reading something versus if you actually tested it out and tried it. So I understand everyone starts in different areas. Some people start with, just pictures of the hair and they sell it that way, and then they work their way up to getting hair on hand, and then they work their way up to wholesale. It just depends on where you want to start at. But I always recommend to at least have at least a sample of the hair that you're selling, just so that you can know, okay, this is how the hair feels. This is how the hair is going to look, because it's very hard, in my opinion, it's very difficult to sell something that you have never seen in person, that you have never touched. And then also the fourth tip that I have is familiarize yourself with your product. So it kind of goes back to number 3, the tip we just went over, testing out your products, wearing your products, familiarize yourself with it. You know, how does this hair feel? How does it act when it straightens? What temperature setting do I find that it straightens the best on? Do I put heat protectant on the hair? If so, which type of heat protectant do I put on the hair? Now, you can always take other people's opinion, because, you know, even if you're using a heat protectant, it doesn't mean that there's not something out there that's better. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it works better to familiarize yourself with the product that you're selling, so that if your customers come to you and they have a question, you don't have to really research or too much or go back to your vendor. You can actually just say, hey, this is what I've tried out. And a lot of times the vendors may not even be wearing all of the textures. So you may be wanting to go back to your vendor, but depending on what type of vendor you have, they may not have worn the hair. They may just say, I just sell it. I don't know. I can maybe add to one of my customers, but I don't know. So it's always great to make sure that you yourself, as the owner of your business, are familiar with the products that you're offering. And then the next tip, the last tip that I have, is reach out to a friend or a resource in your industry. So never be too scared, you know, and even if, I don't want to say never be too scared, okay? Because a lot of times I get nervous. There's a lot of scary things in business. It may be very scary to put yourself out there. I know for me personally, it is scary. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes you're very nervous, but I always talk about not really letting your fear stop you from doing what it is you know you have to do in order to move to the next level in business or in your life. And so even if you are scared, still reach out to different people, still follow different people on your Instagram, on your Facebook, still communicate with people on Facebook, still reach out to people, and, you know, be a resource to them, and then they'll also be a resource to you. Sometimes people reach out, they have completely different hair companies. They may sell raw virgin hair, they may sell clip-ins, or they may only sell this type of hair, but it's like we still reach out to each other. So I've gotten DMs from people saying, hey, have you ever run across this? Or hey, do you know what I can, advise my customer to do? And I'll be more than happy to say, hey, I've never run into this, or I have run into this. This is what I've done. And then in return, I may reach out to them like, hey, just checking in, just wanting to know, have you ever ran across this? And they'll be like, yeah, I have. And this is what I did, or this is what I recommended my customer to do. So it's always a good idea to try to build up a community, a network, and resources of people that are in the same industry that you can go to for help. Just like if you're working a 9-to-5, a lot of times you may have that one person or those few people that you go to and you ask questions like, hey, how do you get here? And how do you pull up this? And how do you, take a closer look at this? And they may say, oh, you just do this, this, and that. It's the same thing with your business. You still want to build up a resource of people that you can go to and that can come to you, so that you both all can help each other grow. So those are my tips. If there's something that you don't know, don't feel like, hey, what am I doing? I'm just stuck, or I don't want this customer to think I'm dumb, or I don't want this customer to think I don't know anything. Customers realize that you're people, they realize that you're human. So of course you're not going to know everything, but it doesn't hurt you to start building up a kind of like a checklist. Okay, what am I going to do if I don't know this question? What do I tell my customers? How long should they expect a response back from me? If you don't know the answer, still respond and still let them know, hey, thanks for reaching out. I'm going to look into this, or great question. Let me do some research. I'll get right back to you in this time frame. But don't ignore them. Don't just let the question go unanswered because you don't know. Still be responsible, still be professional, and still just set the right expectation. I talk about that a lot in videos. Setting the right expectation goes a long, long way in business. So I really hope this answered your question. If you all have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on any of my social media pages, or leave me a comment below. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. And you can also send me an email to btalks@yahoo.com. That way we can answer your question in our next Sunday Chit Chat Q&A video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.